Hello everybody and welcome to today's live stream. Today I will be parsing another text, and this time we're not doing Harry Potter, so the anti-Harry Potter people can, relax as well. Today we're looking at a text from the news. Now I've chosen this text from the news because one of my students actually recommended using a real-world text so that we can see what actually happens in those real-world texts. So for those of you joining, welcome again. As a bonus, today I have two extra things. First of all, at the end, I will do some sentence analysis. Now, because parsing takes a lot of time, I'll only do sentence analysis for 5 sentences from this text. But I've chosen 5 that I think are rather interesting, and I think they are difficult enough. And then, if you stay till the end, I will give you a complete overview of all the parts of speech. That means literally all the parts of speech that you need to know. So that's definitely worth staying for. A complete overview with examples of all the parts of speech. But that's for later on, and I'll show you what it looks like in a second. For those of you who are new, don't forget to like and subscribe. And, well, the only thing we need to do is get started with this parsing thing. So we're parsing a text from the BBC, and if you want to read along, you can find all the sources in the description. I think I also have a link to the actual text, and if not, there is a link to the actual text in the PDF file that is available in the description. So, without further ado, let's get to parsing. So here's our text. And our text is not very long this time. As I said, I've chosen a shorter text because we also want to do the sentence analysis, which means that we don't want to have a very long text. Now, if you remember from last week, we had lots of different parts of speech. We had some adjectives because it's a story, and you want lots of adjectives in your stories. And now we have a more general text, that doesn't contain a lot of adjectives. But I hope that we have lots of interesting parts of speech. Kind of a spoiler alert, we don't really have that many interesting parts of speech. It's just a bit general. So, now, as you can see, I have a new setup, so a new camera angle, which means that if I need to turn to both screens, I'm really turning a lot. So I need to look here for my main screen and look there for my secondary screen. So it's not that I forgot that I'm in the live stream. I'm just checking the chat and see whether there are questions and other interesting things. I hope the sound is fine. I hope everybody can hear me well. So let's get started. Let's see. So this is our text. But before we look at the text, I'll show you my parts of speech table. So this is the part of speech table, and as I said, it's literally an overview of all these parts of speech. Right, so all of them. Now, of course, I had to say something about the copula verbs. You might think, what a long list of copula verbs. Not all of these verbs are automatically always copulas. They're just specific sentences in which they can be used as copula verbs. So when you're using this list to analyze your sentences, make sure that you check whether it's a copula, yes or no. And it might be useful to check what these instances are. So when can you use one of these things as copula, and when do you need to use it as a regular verb, basically? So we have our transitive and intransitive verbs. We have our nouns, our mass nouns, proper nouns, lots of pronouns, personal pronouns, possessive pronouns, demonstratives, reflective pronouns, interrogative pronouns, relative pronouns, indefinite and reciprocal pronouns, impersonal pronouns. Oh, I forgot to take them out here, but I put the impersonal pronouns as a separate category because I think that's a bit interesting. Determiners. Now, remember the difference between pronouns and determiners, right? Determiners appear in front of adjectives and nouns. So if we have an adjective or a noun, we know that we're using a determiner. So that's something to think of. We also have our quantifiers, lots of quantifiers. Indefinite articles, So we know that adjectives, what adjectives are. And if you look at the order of adjectives, we have ossakomp, right? Ossakomp for the order of adjectives. We have our numerals, cardinal and ordinal numerals. Then we get our adverbs, our conjunctive adverbs. We have our adverbs of frequency, adverbs of time, adverbs of manner, adverbs of degree, and adverbs of place. I was a bit lazy here. I didn't want to put all of the adverbs in there. Our prepositions, our conjunctions, interjections, participles, and particles. So these are all the parts of speech that we're looking at today. No questions. Good to hear that people love the sentence analysis part. Let's get started with the text. As always, the slides will be available afterwards. So this is our text. Oh, this is not our text. This is our text. And our text contains some information. Now, before we move on, I wanted to say that this is, of course, just news. I didn't edit anything out. I didn't add extra things. It's just the way it is. Right. So let's get started. We have a, which is an article, new, adjective, investigation, noun, has identified. Well, as a bonus, let me say that this is present perfect. And for those of you interested, why do we use present perfect? Well, we use present perfect here because we have news. And remember, we use news for present perfect. So has is our auxiliary verb, identified, past participle, a, article, suspect, noun, who, relative pronoun, may, modal verb, have, auxiliary, betrayed, past participle, and Frank, a name, so that's a noun, and it's a proper noun. All right, so let's check the proper noun. And Frank is a proper noun. And conjunction, her, possessive determiner, yeah, or possessive adjective. Family, noun. 2, preposition, the, article, Nazis, noun. Right? Then we have the, article. I'm going to leave the subcategories up to you. All right, so have a look at the list, definite, indefinite articles. Check those on your own because the articles are rather simple. The, Jewish, adjective, diarist, noun, died, verb, past simple. Why do we have past simple? That's a question for you. So think of that. Why do we have past simple here? In preposition, a, article, Nazi. Could say noun. We're going to go for adjective because it modifies concentration camp. Same issue. We could say concentration is a specific type of camp, but we're going to put them as one chunk. So this is a noun. In preposition of time, 1945, which is a numeral. Aged, past participle. 15, another numeral. After, preposition. 2, numeral. Years, noun. In, preposition. And hiding, which is a verb. And we are going to call this a present participle. A present participle. yeah, so we have died because it's something in the past. And it's of course a cardinal numeral because it doesn't indicate any order. So it's not an ordinal numeral. So why don't we use, why wouldn't we say this is a gerund? Because this does not operate as a noun. I would say this does operate more like a present participle than a noun. Could be gerund, could be gerund. Right. Her. Again, we have her, and remember we have something in front of a noun. Right? And because we have something in front of a noun, we have a possessive determiner or adjective. I'm going to stick with possessive. I'm going to stick with possessive adjective just because that indicates clearly that it's in front of a noun. But a possessive adjective and a possessive determiner are the same. Now, if I mix them up, if I say determiner instead of adjective, just point that out, and I'll edit it back in the file. But I'm going to stick with possessive adjective for now. So her, possessive adjective, diary, noun, published, past participle, after, preposition, her, possessive adjective, death, noun, is, copula, the, determiner, most, adverb, famous, adjective, first-hand account. First-hand, we're going to put them together because there's a hyphen. So, adjective, account, noun, of, preposition, Jewish, adjective, life, noun, during, preposition, the, article, and war, noun. I'll check whether in hiding is indeed a phrasal verb. I'll get back to in hiding. So, not very difficult as we get along. A bit less difficult than Harry Potter, but still a very nice text to analyze. A, article, team, noun, including gerund, an, article, ex-FBI, adjective, agent, noun, said, verb, Arnold van den Berg, which is just going to be a noun for now because it's a name, a, article, Jewish, adjective, figure, noun, in, preposition, Amsterdam, noun, probably, adverb, gave, verb, up, particle, to create the phrasal verb to give up, the, article, Franks, noun, to, particle, save, verb, his, possessive adjective, own, adjective, family, noun. Now, why is to here a particle and not a preposition? Good question. So to is here a particle and not a preposition because it doesn't indicate any form of movement or place or time or whatever, and it's used to create the full verb to save, right? He did something to save his own family. And because we have to and save, it's kind of an infinitive, so we call it a particle in this case. The team, and we have the article, team, noun, made up, made, verb, and up, particle, of, preposition, historians, noun, and conjunction, other, adjectives, experts, noun, spent, verb, 6, numeral, years, noun, numeral, using present participle. No, this could be gerund. Yeah, of course, gerund. Modern, adjective, investigative, adjective, techniques, noun, to, particle, crack, noun, the, article, cold case. Now, we could say, of course, cold is in this case an adjective and case is a noun. But you could also say the cold case as one thing. And if we do the cold case as one thing, then we call it a noun. So for those joining on Discord, welcome that you are on Discord. Don't forget, if you want to look at the screen and see what I'm doing, check the link for YouTube, because that's where I'm sharing the screen. Okay, so I hope everyone can follow along. So now we have that. And the question is, what do we do with that? Would we say that is a pronoun, or as in a relative pronoun, right? That's where we have that. But we also have that as a demonstrative determiner. So that's interesting. And we have that as a demonstrative pronoun. So we now have that in 3 categories, and we need to decide what do we do with that. Are we going to say that is our demonstrative pronoun? Is that our relative pronoun? Or is that our demonstrative determiner? Now, something it's definitely not is this relative pronoun, right? Because we're not creating a separate category within a sentence. Right? We're not creating a new level in a sentence. And because we're not doing that, we're not calling that a relative pronoun. Now the question is it then a demonstrative pronoun or is it a determiner? What did I say again about determiners? Determiners appear in front of nouns. And we don't have a noun here. We do have a noun here because we have the noun kind of omitted because that process included. And this included operates sort of as a noun, so that's why we would say this is one of our demonstrative determiners. That, which is the process, included verb using gerund, computer, noun, algorithms, noun. No, I'm going to go back to the determiner thing. I'm going to say that this is a pronoun. That would make, because we're going to call it a verb. Otherwise, it's very confusing. So this is a pronoun, a demonstrative pronoun that included verb using gerund, computer, noun, algorithms, noun, to particle, search, verb, for, preposition, connections, noun, between preposition, many, quantifier, different, adjective, people, noun. Something, a pronoun, and we would say this is one of our indefinite pronouns. That, relative pronoun. Would have, would is our model, have is our auxiliary, and taken, verb, and in this case our past participle. Humans, nouns, thousands, quantifier, of, preposition, hours, noun. The question is included an auxiliary verb? It's a good question, but in this case it's not an auxiliary verb because it cannot be an auxiliary, because we only have 3 auxiliaries: to be, to have, and to do. So it's not an auxiliary here. Okay. We're doing great. We have lots of interesting parts of speech. I don't think all of them are going to pass today, but that's fine. Van den Berg, which I'm just going to call a noun because it's a name. Had, auxiliary. Been, past participle. A, article. Member, noun. Of, preposition. Amsterdam, noun. Apostrophe, which is a possessive, and in this case a genitive. Jewish, adjective. Council, noun. Or we can say that Jewish council is one thing, and then we would say it's a noun. A, article. Body, noun. Forced, past participle. To, particle. Implement, verb. Nazi, verb. Oh, sorry, Nazi is not verb. Noun, that's not funny either. Awkward. Policy, noun. We could also say that Nazi is our adjective because it says something about policy. It's a specific type of policy. So Nazi is our adjective, noun, policy, in, preposition, Jewish, adjective, and areas, noun. Right. So let's check whether there are any questions before we move on with this part of the text. Right, so there was a question about the apostrophe S in Amsterdam. Now, this is a case where we use the apostrophe S to indicate possession. And as you know, when we talk about possession, we use genitives. All right, so the genitive S. And the genitive S in a word like Amsterdam, we can kind of categorize as a separate part of speech. So we're allowed to say, well, we have Amsterdam, which is our noun, and then we have the genitive apostrophe S as a separate part of speech. So I'll take away the pos because that might be confusing, but the apostrophe S is basically a genitive, right? It's something that's indicating possession. In this case, Amsterdam's Jewish council. Okay, then we have it, personal pronoun. Was, verb. disbanded verb, and was is in this case not a copula but an auxiliary, and it's used in this case in a sentence which is past simple passive. So this is a past simple passive sentence. Was disbanded. It cannot disband itself, right? So it hasn't disbanded itself. It didn't disband itself. It was done by someone else, and because it's done by someone else, we don't have an agent that's also the actor, and we don't have a subject that's the actor. So in this case, we use a passive sentence. And the verb, the second verb in this passive construction, is our past participle. In preposition of time, 1943, which is our numeral, and conjunction, its possessive adjective, members, noun, were, verb, but we need to look at dispatched because dispatched is part of the verb phrase. So were is in this case our auxiliary verb. Dispatched is our past participle or past participle. Again, we have a passive construction because these people were not dispatched by themselves, but they were dispatched by someone else, and because they were dispatched by someone else, we use a passive construction. 2 is our preposition. Concentration camps, again, we can either say concentration and camps as adjective noun, or we can say concentration camps as one thing, and in that case, it would be a noun. Okay, let's move on to the... Well, we're nearly done with this text, which is excellent. But, which is our conjunction. And it's one of the fanboys, right? So this is a coordinating conjunction. But, the, article, team, noun, found, verb, and in this case we have a past simple sentence. That, relative pronoun, Van den Berg, noun, was, verb, not, particle, sent, verb. Again, we have to look at was again, because I said sent here, and sent is again a passive construction, was sent, which means that this is our auxiliary. Was sent to, preposition, a, article, camp, noun, and conjunction, in this case coordinating conjunction, I'll add that here as well, was, verb, instead, adverb, I was ready to write auxiliary, but we're not there yet, living, present, participle. Okay, let's have a look. What do we have? We have was living, and you guys know that was living is present, a past continuous. I keep up mixing the present and the past for some reason. I live too much in the present, I think. Past continuous. So let's do a quick analysis of this tense. Why is this interesting and why do we use past continuous? Well, we use past continuous in was living because this was happening for a longer period in the past. And because it's a longer period in the past, we use past continuous here. Then we have past simple for found. Why do we have past simple? Because it was in the past. The team found, right? Was sent, again, past simple passive. Why past simple? Because it's in the past. A very nice sentence to use to illustrate these differences between past simple and past continuous and past simple passive. Okay, so we're now at was instead, adverb, living. present participle, in, which is our preposition. I hope you can read it well. In Amsterdam, noun, as preposition, normal, which would be our adjective, at preposition, the determiner or article, of course, time, noun. So I said determiner for the, and that's not, of course, incorrect, because determiners are, articles are part of the determiner category. So it's not particularly incorrect, it's just we have a more specific part of speech for the. Okay. Then we also have there. So what do we do with there? Let's look at where it is. It appears in front of a verb, which means that it's a pronoun. So it's not one of our determiners, it's a pronoun because it appears in front of a verb. And now the question is, which of them is it? So which of these verbs would we say, or which of these pronouns would we call there? So it's not a personal pronoun because those are you, he, she, it, we, you, and they. It's not a personal pronoun in object position because that's not the case. It's not a personal pronoun. It's not a possessive pronoun because it doesn't indicate possession. It doesn't reflect, so it's not a reflexive pronoun. It doesn't ask a question. So it's also not a relative or interrogative pronoun. So then we would say that this is again one of those existential there issues. Remember last time I talked about existential it, and this is one of those issues as well. Existential there. For those of you wondering, this is not something that will appear on the exam. It's of course a trick question. Now it could be demonstrative. I don't think that's of course, yeah, you could interpret it as something in a demonstrative sense, but because we talk about there as a more general sense, we're not pointing at this research and saying there was a suggestion. It's an existential issue. So it's existential there. Was, which is our verb. And I'm going to pause for a second because I want you guys to guess what type of verb is was in this sentence. What type of verb is was in this sentence? Because I talked about auxiliary several times. Would you say that this is an auxiliary? Well, let's check. What do auxiliary verbs do again? Oh yeah, they modify something else. Do we have a something else? No, we don't. So in this case, this is a copula. This is was as a copula. Also, adverb, a, article, suggestion, noun, that, relative pronoun, a, article, member, noun, of, preposition, the, article, Jewish, adjective, council, noun. Again, you can also say Jewish council is one thing. Had, auxiliary, been, past participle, feeding, present participle, nice construction, had been feeding, which is past perfect continuous. It was something that went on at a particular time in the past before someone else. So this is extremely in the past, and but also going on at that time. The article, Nazis, noun, information, noun. This is different than Nazi policy, what we have up here, because then we have Nazi as an adjective, because it modifies a particular type of policy. And here we have that the Nazis were getting information. So then they are a separate entity in this text, and separate noun. All right, let's move on to the final page of this text. When, again, what do we do with this when thing? This is not a WH question, right? This is a relative pronoun. Because it indicates... Oh, no. Wait, that's incorrect what I'm saying. This is a subordinating conjunction. Not a pronoun, a conjunction. So here we have a subordinating conjunction, which indicates that we have a new level of this sentence. So when, subordinating conjunction, van den Berg, which is a noun, lost, verb, al, which is a quantifier, his, possessive adjective, series, noun, of, preposition, protections, noun, exempting, verb, him, very nice one. What do we do with him? In this case, we have a personal pronoun in object position. From, preposition, having, verb, to go, to is a particle, and go is our verb, to, preposition, the, article, camps, noun, he, personal pronoun, had, verb, to, particle again, provide, verb, something, noun, valuable, adjective, to, preposition, the, article, Nazis, noun, that, relative pronoun, he, personal pronoun, haha. The apostrophe S is in this case not one of those genitives again. This is an auxiliary, because he has, had, verb, and in this case past participle, contact, noun, with, preposition, to, particle, let, verb, him, personal pronoun, in this case again in object position, and conjunction, his, possessive adjective. It's getting smaller and smaller. Let me make it a bit neat. Let's see. Conjunction, his, possessive adjective, wife, noun, at, preposition, that, demonstrative pronoun, demonstrative determiner, because we have time, noun, stay, verb, safe, adverb. And then we get former FBI agent, so former, adjective, FBI agent. So FBI, we could say adjective, but we could also put them together as one. And then we would say noun. Vince, noun. Pankoke, noun. Told, verb. CBS, noun. The, article. Team, noun. Said, verb. It, personal pronoun. Had, verb, in this case auxiliary. Struggled, past participle. Had struggled, past simple. All right, this is something that past perfect. It happened before something else in the past. With, preposition. The, article. Revelation, noun. That, relative pronoun. Another, that's a nice one. What do we do with another? Well, it says something about Jewish person or person, so I would say that it appears as an adjective. So let's put it there. Let's put it as an adjective. Let's check quickly. It's not a quantifier. Nope. So then we're going to say adjective. Let me briefly check my notes before we do this. No, it's a determiner. Let's see which one of them. It's probably a quantifier. Yeah. Right. So another is our determiner. Function as a quantifier. Jewish, adjective, person, noun, was, verb, probably, adverb, the betrayer, article, and noun. So there's an interesting construction. A Jewish person was the betrayer. Was is again, it combines the betrayer and Jewish person, so then it becomes a copula. But is our conjunction. It, personal pronoun. Also, adverb. Found, verb. Evidence, noun. Suggesting, personal pronoun. Otto Frank, noun. Anne Frank's father. Anne's father. Again, we can do Anne as noun, apostrophe S as genitive, and father as noun. May, model, verb model. Himself, aha, nice. A reflexive pronoun, but we can also leave it out. And because we can leave it out, we can say that this is also an intensive pronoun. Because we can say Otto Frank, Anne's father, may have known that and kept it secret. But we're adding himself to this because they want to add emphasis, right? That Anne's father knew about this issue. And because it's of course is a fair issue. So we're going to change this into an intensive pronoun. Intensive pronoun. May himself have, auxiliary verb, known, verb, that, demonstrative pronoun, and conjunction, kept, verb, it, This is a personal pronoun in object position. Secret, which is our adjective. Adverb. No, adjective, because it says something about it. Yeah. All right. Final part. In preposition, the article files noun of preposition a noun of wait, haha, too quickly. Article previous adjective investigator noun they personal pronoun found verb a article copy noun of preposition an article anonymous adjective note noun send verb to preposition Otto noun and Frank noun identifying I wouldn't say gerund present participle Arnold noun and then Van den Berg will you know it's a name so it's a noun as preposition his possessive adjective betrayer noun Mr. noun pankoke noun told verb 60 numeral minutes verb that relative pronoun anti-Semitism noun may modal verb have auxiliary verb been past participle the article reason noun it personal pronoun was verb in this case we need to see what do we have so let's before we can say whether it's copula or an auxiliary we need to check the rest of the sentence never adverb made aha the rest of the part past participle so that means that this is our auxiliary made public adjective okay and then we have perhaps adverb he which is our personal pronoun just adverb felt verb that relative pronoun if ooh that's a nice one what do we do with if let's see well in this case you could call it a preposition if I personal pronoun bring verb a good question is minutes oh did I say verb whoa that's a good error minutes is of course a noun maybe my n ended up as a v so told 60 minutes good point Carola thank you minutes is a noun right so perhaps he just felt that if I personal pronoun bring verb this in this case we are pointing at something so this would be a demonstrative determiner a pronoun sorry a demonstrative pronoun up preposition again Oh, no. We would say up is in this case a particle because we're creating a phrasal verb bring up. Again, adverb. It, personal pronoun. Apostrophe LL is, of course, will, and that's a modal verb. Only, adverb. Stoke, verb. The, article. I was ready to write determiner, but it's article. Fires, noun, and further, adverb. Don't know where I wrote adjective. So it will stoke the fires further. Let's see. He, personal pronoun, said, verb. But, conjunction, one of the fanboys. We, personal pronoun, have a verb. This is just the regular verb. To, particle. Keep, verb. In, preposition. Mind, noun. That, relative pronoun. The. So we're now at the. Let's see. There's an article, fact, noun. That, relative pronoun. Van den Berg, in this case, this was added by the editor later on. Noun. Was, verb, in this case copula, because it copulas, it combines, copulas, that's not a real thing. It combines Van den Berg to Jewish, right? So we have a copula, and Jewish would be our subject attribute, but that's for in a few minutes. Jewish, adjective, just, adverb, yeah, adjective makes sense. Meant, verb, that, relative pronoun. Let's see. 4. Perhaps you felt that if I bring it all over his head, but with 4. Let's see. I don't. Which 4 is the phrasal verb? I don't see it. Okay, let's move on, and then we'll probably find the 4 in a second. Right, so that he, personal pronoun, was, verb. Yes, this is from an actual article in the newspaper. Yeah. Placed, verb as well. And here we have was placed, and was is the auxiliary because placed is our past participle. Into, preposition. Un, article. Untenable, adjective. Position, noun. By, preposition. The, article. And of course the Nazis again. Noun. To, do, in this case a particle, because do says something. Do is of course an infinitive, and because we have the infinitive we need to have the particle to, and then do is our verb. Something, noun, to, particle, save, verb, his, possessive adjective, and life, noun. Dutch, adjective, newspaper, noun, de Volkskrant, which we'll call a noun as a complete element, reports, verb, that, relative pronoun, Van den Berg, noun, died, which is a verb, of course, in preposition 1915, a numeral. So this is a very interesting article, and I think we have, it's an interesting article because of the content. I think this is excellent that they were able to find this so many years on. Imagine how many time these people had to give to this research. It's also an interesting article to parse. Lots of different parts of speech. We even have the intensive pronoun, which is very nice. So now it's time for us to have a look at 5 sentences, and let's see whether we're able to indicate and to analyze these sentences and indicate their functions. Now don't forget, we're not doing parsing anymore. We're now going over to sentence analysis, which is a different type of analysis. So here are our sentences, and these are also from the text. I took some articles or some sentences that, were a bit difficult. And why they're difficult you see in a second. So the first sentence is, her diary is the most famous first-hand account of Jewish life during the war. Now, in my video on sentence analysis, I said, well, try to create the most simple form of the sentence. So even though this sentence looks very long, it's still a simple sentence because we only have one clause, and we only have, in this case, of course, one sentence, but also one clause, and we don't have extra clauses, right? So that means that if we were to analyze this, and if we were to put slashes to indicate the different constituents, we would have her diary is, and then something else. So her diary is in this case the subject. Is of course our verb phrase. And is what kind of verb? Well, it combines something and something else. So that means that is in this case a copula. And because is a copula, the other part is our subject complement, or our subject attribute. And in this case, we have a very nice basic sentence. Right, so we have her diary, subject is, verb phrase copula, and the most famous first-hand account of Jewish life during the war, which is our subject attribute. The next sentence is a bit more difficult. The team said it had struggled with the revelation that another Jewish person was probably the betrayer. Now, we have several levels here, because the team said, and then we get another part. But again, we can create a very basic construction, right? The team said something. Said is transitive, which means that it takes an object. And because it takes an object, we can do this thing, right? So what we could do is we could indicate the different constituents again. So the team, subject, said, verb phrase, and in this case we have past simple. And then we have the rest of the sentence. I will have a look at the questions in a second, after we've done these 5 sentences. So the team said it had struggled with the revelation. So that means that the rest of this sentence is our direct object because it said something. So the rest is our direct object. However, we can analyze it a level deeper and say, all right, it, as our subject, had struggled as our verb phrase. And because struggle is intransitive, which means it doesn't take an object, the rest of this part is our adverbial, right? So it's not transitive, it doesn't take an object, struggle doesn't take an object. That means that the rest of the sentence is an adverbial, right? Here we have in a statement, the Anne Frank House Museum said it was impressed with the investigation team's work. It seems very complex, but it actually isn't. Because what do we have? Well, we have the Anne Frank House said something. So again, we have this said construction, right? So in a statement, which we can put as a constituent on its own, and we'll look at what that is later. The Anne Frank House Museum, which is our subject, said, which is our verb phrase, and then it was impressed as our direct object, right? It said something. And now we can analyze it a level deeper, but let's do in a statement first. So in a statement is in this case our adverbial, because it only adds extra information. And because it only adds extra information, we can safely call it an adverbial. So in a statement is our adverbial. Let's look at the direct object and what we can do with this direct object. It is the subject, was, verb phrase, and remember, was is a copula. So was is our copula. That makes impressed our subject complement. And the rest of the sentence are adverbial. Right? So because we have was, which functions as a copula here, impressed is our subject complement, which means that the rest only becomes an adverbial. Right? Again, I will look at the questions after we've done the 5 sentences, and we're now moving on to sentence number 4, sorry. So in this text, they said the Netherlands is currently a polarized country. Now, of course, it's not my opinion in any way, but I thought it was a very good sentence because it has another nice construction. So here we have the Netherlands, which is our subject. We have is, which is our copula. Currently, which is our adverbial. And a polarized country. Now, this polarized country says something about the Netherlands, and is a copula. And because it's a copula, we call this our subject complement. Right? That's why this is a very nice sentence to analyze, because we have a subject, verb phrase, and a subject complement. A polarized country. Okay. And our final sentence for the sentence analysis is, earlier, I visited the Anne Frank house. Not very difficult sentence. Because we have earlier, I visited, verb phrase, and the Anne Frank house. Now, earlier is very simple. That's our adverbial, because it only adds extra information. I is our subject. Visited is our verb phrase. And the Anne Frank house is our direct object. So, I visited the Anne Frank house, which is our direct object. All right. So I see lots of questions, so let's now dive into the questions. There is something about the word suggestion. Let's have a look at the word suggestion. It's probably here. If there are questions about the sentence analysis, I'll see them in the chat later on. Let's see. Let's look it up first. So do you mean suggestion or do you mean suggesting? There was also a question about the it being... Oh, that's probably here. This is not the same it as in a case with existential there, because it does kind of function as a thing here. And that would mean that it is not existential. It is a personal pronoun. Let me do the moderator thing. Okay, suggesting. So suggesting is... did I say personal pronoun? Why does it say personal pronoun? That makes no sense. So suggesting is not obviously a personal pronoun. That is a present participle. Yeah. So suggesting is here a present participle. We have verb plus ing. I don't know why I said personal pronoun. I think I was too quick here. But suggesting is a present participle. Then there is a question about past simple passive or past participle passive. Well, it's always past simple passive. We don't have past participle passive. And it's not a gerund here because it does not operate as a noun. It operates as a verb. The evidence suggests something. The evidence is or was suggesting that Otto Frank right? He did the thing himself. So because we have suggesting operating as a verb here and not as a noun, it's a present participle. Let's see. Okay, let's see if there are other questions. I don't see other questions. Something with the pronouns as well. Let's see. Now, I said relative pronoun for that here. Don't know whether that's completely true. I don't say it's particularly a determiner. Yeah, could be a determiner. That's the fact. Yeah, that could be a determiner. A demonstrative determiner. Yeah. Because they both appear in front of nouns, so that might be incorrect. No, don't know. Could still be a relative pronoun. The fact that something happened, that's something I need to look at. So I'll look at the fact and that, what we do with the fact and that. Right, excellent. If we don't have any other questions, I think it was interesting. You know, it's always interesting to do this parsing thing, and I think it's one of the most difficult parts of linguistics, because you know this is of course the deepest level of analysis. You get the trees, and of course you can talk about their functions and the movement. So you know, if you ever look at linguistic trees or syntactic trees, you'll definitely freak out there, because these parts of speech are the lowest level of that analysis. Now, we're not doing the entire analysis, which kind of makes it a bit difficult, because if you do the entire analysis, then you also look at the phrases, and from the phrases, you look at the parts of speech. However, I do think it was an interesting article to parse. I hope that everything was clear, or as clear as it can be. I'll include the information we discussed today, which is both the texts I used and my notes, in the file which I shared in the description. And I also put the parts of speech table there as well. I did forget some things. I forgot, for example, the reflexive, no, not the reflexive, but the intensive pronouns. But, you know, I'll add those and then upload a new version of the file. For now, everybody, thank you for watching again. Good luck with your exam. Is that, you know, if that's why you're here to study for my exam, good luck with my exam. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I hope to see you in one of my next live streams or in one of my next videos. Goodbye.